Naruto God Level Majin Buu, Chapter 301-320. 301. Is it refunded or entered into? When the people on the boat heard the sound, they immediately felt shivering, especially Caribou and Caesar, who were full of rebellious bones. Although they were also very curious, the sea was calm, and they could not see anything. Where did Akainu come from? Could it be that Longcheng was beaten stupid after a fight with Bondewald, but they knew that Longcheng could not joke about this kind of thing. It might be true. Realizing this, Caesar and Caribou were even more afraid. At first, they just wanted to stay out of the rain, and use the strength of the Iron Wall pirates to accumulate strength and wait for an opportunity to act. Who would have guessed that Longcheng would have such a day? Back carefully, whether it was Roger in the past or Bondewald now, wasn't it because they were too powerful and touched the bottom line of the Navy, so the Navy couldn't tolerate them? It seems that such a day is destined to come. It's over. It's over now. What should I do? Or take advantage of the turmoil for a while, deliberately give Yinlongcheng a hand and surrender to Akainu? Although these thoughts only flashed in the minds of the two of them, they just happened to be heard by Longcheng, who was sensing all the movements in the vicinity, with a domineering look. Longcheng's heart tightened, and he immediately glared in their direction. Although Longcheng didn't use any force, this invisible sense of oppression was enough to make Caribou and Caesar tremble. In the end, I didn't even dare to let go. Compared with Monet, their acting skills are much worse. The meaning of Longcheng couldn't be clearer. He was warning them, if they were still smart people, don't use any crooked minds. Especially at such a critical juncture, if he dares to have any unscrupulous intentions against his friends and family, he would rather kill them by mistake than let them go. Maybe this is. Jinpei has always warned Dragon City of the spirit of the emperor and the power of the king. Longcheng didn't think so much at the moment, and the most important thing at the moment was to think about how to avoid Akainu's pursuit. Caesar. Akainu is chasing from the north, we have to go southwest. Remember, we must go full speed. Longcheng's heart was pounding at the moment, and this was the first time he had such a sense of urgency. After all, during today's trip, I have fought for hundreds of rounds with powerful enemies such as Owen, Kid, and Bondewald of the Big Mom Pirates. During this period, Longcheng seldom considered whether he needed physical strength to recover. In his current state, if he wants to fight Akainu's attack head-on, it's probably not enough. There is also, according to Luffy's statement, they actually met Aokiji, which shows that the Navy's operation is likely to dispatch all three of the Navy's generals. At this time, under the efforts of the crew and the helm of Caesar gritted his teeth, the sails were moving at an unprecedented speed. At this point, Longcheng does not doubt that they have the biggest and only advantage now, escaping from Bondewald's island ship, allowing Akainu to be distracted flawlessly in a short period of time, buying time for his companions to escape. But even so, Longcheng still has a hunch that maybe the Navy this time, not only. It's as simple as dispatching 3 generals. Whoever has the Haijie who is eager to get the Junjun fruit may be able to become the next generation of the Junjun fruit to be the strongest. The reason why Whitebeard can traverse the New World and repeatedly make the Navy fear is that he has the transcendent power to destroy the world. Long time ago. You must know that the promotion system of the naval headquarters is judged according to the merits of each navy. In the face of such a huge number of pirates, it would not be surprising even if the warring states staged the battle in person. Your Highness. Master. Suddenly, Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper stepped forward one after another, and Cat Viper asked, Your Highness, should we retreat next, or should we continue to go deeper? In my opinion, everything depends on the life of the young master, and now the young master is unable to support himself, he is still seriously injured, and the Navy can no longer hold back, showing his minions to the pirates. If we continue to move forward, we are likely to encounter a more dangerous situation. The lives of you and me are not important, but we must not let what happened to the young master. Duke Inuarashi said honestly. Longcheng's eyes are still looking at the seemingly calm distant sea, but his face is slightly tired. The maximum range of his absolute domain is 20 kilometers, and when Longcheng went to sense the distance of Akainu again, he couldn't help but show an earthy look. "Master, what's wrong?" Duke Inulin asked quickly. "Akainu's speed is so fast. It's already pulled closer to less than 4 miles away from us," Longcheng said in surprise. "Have to admit that the Navy's hard facilities are still quite powerful, and the shipbuilding craftsmanship has nothing to do with it. Kid's medium-sized pirate ship cannot compete with Akainu's ship in speed at all." Longcheng thought that they were the first to escape the danger zone, and even if Akainu chased after him, it would take a while. It seemed that he was too naive to have thought of this. "Duke Inuarashi, hurry up and bring us the nautical chart that Nami gave us," Longcheng quickly commanded. As soon as he finished speaking, Duke Inulin quickly spread the blueprint in front of Longcheng. "His Royal Highness, we have just left the island ship, so we should be in this position now," Cat Viper said, and pointed to a coordinate on the map. Longcheng tried his best to keep himself calm, and after thinking for a while, he finally made up his mind. "The third island, let's go to the third island for refuge. Although Akainu also has a perception type, but it is not enough to fear in the range, I hope we can avoid their pursuit." Now that Longcheng has given an order, Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper also looked at each other and nodded, determined to swear to protect the safety of Longcheng. "Return to the third island. Immediately. Rudder, to the southwest corner, 19 degrees ahead." After a while, almost everyone on board already understood the meaning of Longcheng. Obviously, he did not intend to retreat, but wanted to temporarily avoid the edge. After avoiding the pursuit of Akainu, he adjusted his breath and resumed sailing. "There are still 4 miles away. I hope everything will be in time." Longcheng looked at the direction they came from inside. In fact, the situation may not be as pessimistic as everyone thinks. At their current speed, they should be able to reach their destination in just 5 to 10 minutes. Besides, Longcheng also has a secret weapon. I saw the corners of his inexplicable mouth move slightly, and said to himself, "No need at this time, when will it be?" Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 302. Yuan Division Candidate. 2 minutes later, the other side. Sakazuki, who was chasing Longcheng's group at a high speed, was also in a state of madness because of the pursuit. He first looked at the island ship that was gradually drifting away and sinking behind him, and then looked forward with disdain. Forced to turn around by these evil pirates, the power of justice must give these guys a bloody and painful lesson in this operation. This is what happens when you stand in opposition to the Navy. Damn Longcheng, you have escaped from me several times in the past, and you have challenged my bottom line of patience again and again. This time we will see how you escape. If it weren't for the fact that Bondewald's level of danger was higher than that of Dragon City, Akainu would have ignored this old thing before, and instead pursued Dragon City with all his strength. A shame. Think about it again, Akainu doesn't mention how much regret he feels in his heart. Thinking of this, Sakazuki roared loudly and asked loudly, "Helmsman, how far is the Dragon City and their pirate ship from us?" Report to Admiral Akainu. We were able to use high-powered binoculars just now to see their whereabouts, and I don't know if their boatmen found out that we were chasing them, so the speed of the advance suddenly became very fast, even beyond the visible range of our telescopes. A thinner navy shivered all over, for fear of being repaired by an angry Sakazuki. If he hadn't been standing at the top of the ship, he would have been scared to the ground in front of Sakazuki's burly and tall body. You know, Sakazuki's bad temper is also well known in the Navy. Now, considering that there are still a few tough battles to be fought, Sakazuki doesn't want to waste his energy on a pawn, waiting to gain momentum. This Navy's casting net operation, in addition to Longcheng, the target person he has long been eyeing, and the sudden appearance of the Ward pirates and Bondewald, there are also several powerful enough to be no weaker than Bangdevard's pirates, and Akainu want to kill them all. Don't forget, when Longcheng forced its way into the city, I don't know how many escaped. Although some of the sinners have since been arrested and returned by them, there are still some who have successfully escaped the pursuit, but they have been being exiled, like Bundywald, became a serious problem for the Navy. Of course, there is another point, which is also the reason why Akainu does not go back. It is rumored that the Navy headquarters is likely to select a candidate for the next marshal. As long as there is no one serving in the Navy, the candidate is. Which means that in the future, to a large extent, he will become the only head of the Navy headquarters. Under one person, over 10,000 people. If you want to ask Akainu's heart, of course he is moved. With his mouth full of justice, he does not rule out such ambitions. It's just this, it's just a rumor, it's hard to tell if it's true or not. Besides, according to the rumors that Sakazuki got, it seems that his name is on the list of candidates. The Navy's achievements are mainly judged by catching pirates. If he can capture all these criminals, he will definitely win the position of marshal. This is why Akainu prefers to temporarily let go of Longcheng. The main reason for dealing with Bundywald first, too. The skinny sailor who was rising above the warship was relieved when he saw that Akainu didn't get angry at him. "What are you slacking off?" Sakazuki then asked sternly with a straight face. No, General Akainu, I will continue to track down Longcheng and their pirate ship." After being intimidated by Sakazuki's simple words, the sailor almost suffocated. "All the staff give me orders. Be sure to catch up with Longcheng for me, and never let the power of justice become their laughingstock." Sakazuki clenched his teeth, clenched his fists sternly, and shouted wildly. Yes. Due to the impassioned words of the commander, the Navy was immediately given a steady stream of power, which made the hull speed up again. In fact, even if the naval warship is a very ordinary small ship, its speed can be compared to a pirate's medium-sized pirate ship. Reason why they were thrown away by Longcheng and the others was because everyone had different goals. It's like a beast that is chasing a hare, but after chasing it for a long time, it can't eat the other party. Because for the wild beasts, they didn't eat the hare, they just missed a meal, but for the hare, it was a matter of life and death. Compared with the Navy, Longcheng and others are moving forward at an unprecedented maximum speed. Perhaps apart from Longcheng, even they themselves don't know, they are gradually getting rid of the Navy pirate ship. Longcheng was still releasing the absolute realm of domineering, and when he determined that the distance from Akainu seemed to be more than 4 miles, a hint of joy appeared in his heart. But soon, he couldn't be happy, because Sakazuki and the others speeded up again. "Young master, look, about a mile ahead is the third island we've been to before." Duke Inuarashi was excited for a while, pointed to the front and said. 303. Dragon City's mouth escape. Oh, so fast. Longcheng changed his mind, then walked from the stern to the bow and looked around. Sure enough, it was because of Longcheng's words that everyone did not disembark to find the island where the shocking fruit was. In this matter, Caesar had his own thoughts again, and thought to himself, "Look, in the end, you still want to come to this island." This sentence can be regarded as a bit of psychological comfort when Longcheng opposed it at the beginning. Although Longcheng still vaguely heard his thoughts at this time, he didn't take it seriously. As long as he didn't put everyone in danger, Longcheng could still tolerate him. After all, Caesar is very helpful to Dragon City's future plans. As for the bloodline factor map, he still hasn't understood it. To be precise, he can't understand it at all. Even if he came from across the country, he is more familiar with the plot of the pirates. In Longcheng's impression, this important event can only be explained to Caesar. But according to the dangerous thoughts of Caesar just now, it is still far from being able to gain the absolute trust of Longcheng, so he has to wait and see what happens. As long as he understands the principle of the bloodline factor map, perhaps Longcheng can analyze the reason why the devil fruit can produce wonderful superpowers in the human body, and even it is not necessarily that it can obtain the power beyond the shock fruit. Time passed by, and after a while, their pirate ship finally approached the third island. It's just that at the moment, everyone is still worrying about where to park. If there is no safe place to hide the pirate ship, even if we successfully land on the island, the entire island will be engulfed by the lava of Sakazuki. Duke Inuarashi said with a condensed expression. Of course he is not afraid of anything. In order to protect Longcheng, he is not even afraid of death. How can he be afraid of a red dog? If the red dog appeared in front of him now, he would stand in front of Longcheng alone in order to protect Longcheng. Duke Inuarashi wants to remind everyone, especially Longcheng. Yes, Your Highness, by then, I am afraid that everyone will become the Wengjongji of the Navy. Cat Viper also tightened his heart and said. Like Duke Inuarashi, she is a person who is not afraid of death for the safety of Longcheng, but is only worried that the lives of her companions on the ship will be in danger. Get out of the way. Longcheng was thinking about this idea suddenly. That's right, detouring is indeed a good idea. Facing a Kainu, maybe you can really avoid their search. Point is, doing so is not easy for the Navy to detect. Young Master is right, everyone will detour. Give me a quick move, Dao. After hearing Duke Inuarashi's new order, the pirates who were familiar with landing on the island naturally understood the reason, so they all cheered up and started to turn around the third big island. The end, there was finally a chance of life, appearing in front of Longcheng and others. We're looking at the bow. We're very happy after seeing the scene in front of them and embraced each other. Yes, they saw a deep river entrance 200 meters away. It was very narrow, and by visual inspection, it was just right to pass their ship. But for the kind of large warships of the Navy, it is obviously impossible to pass. Fast forward. If you don't want to die, give me fast forward. Instant, all the pirates were excited, as if they had survived in a desperate situation. Their hands and feet became unknown why they became extremely powerful, and their blood vessels expanded. Longcheng couldn't help being stunned for a moment. Based on his experience every time he watched pirates' plots in the past, if he could talk about his excitement again at this time, it might boost the morale of everyone. Am I going to hang up beeping Naruto and turn on the mouth escape mode? Think carefully. If you directly modify the mouth in the next gold enhancement, will the system give him the strongest mouth escape function? If so, he will be able to move his mouth all the way and win a group of people to serve him. This idea is good. Next time I have to find a chance and ask the system. Strengthening his mouth. At this moment, Longcheng suddenly flashed a picture, that is Lola. If the system turned him into Lola, it would not be worth the loss. Back to the present, Longcheng immediately became serious again. After all, life and death were at stake, and he did not want his companions to be in any danger. Everyone trusts him so much that they will follow themselves. Longcheng is determined that as long as there is a glimmer of hope, he will definitely lead everyone out of danger. Cough cough. So, under the watchful eyes of the people around, Longcheng coughed a few times and said solemnly, everyone. I, Longcheng, are willing to sacrifice my life. As long as we still have hope, I will definitely take everyone with me. Free from naval pursuit, I am with you forever. As soon as these words came out, everyone on the deck suddenly became quiet, except for the. Longcheng said these words with impassioned enthusiasm. He didn't know if others were moved, but at least he was moved by himself. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 304. Sudden danger. He didn't quite understand what it meant. But in the process of escaping, don't they all say something that can make people's blood boil and shock people? As for what they said, I'm afraid few people can understand. However, just when Longcheng was still mulling over his own words, the expressions of the people around him changed a lot again, as if the dragon city in front of him was the best hope for their survival. Sudden, everyone seemed to have acquired some kind of mysterious power, and they only felt that their blood was boiling, their blood vessels expanded, and they screamed desperately. This also makes the boat speed up again. But when Longcheng turned around and took a look, he was almost frightened. What's the situation? Although Longcheng came to this pirate world, it was only a short period of time. Compared with the new generation of 11 supernovas such as straw hats floating on the sea all the year round, they were not as good as them in terms of sailing at sea or the experience of landing on the island. However, his intuition told him that in the face of such a long and narrow river, if they continued to rush forward in such a frantic and desperate way, they would most likely crash into the river bank. Or slow down a bit. A little dizzy due to the turbulence of the swaying pirate ship. This feeling was like a sudden storm at sea. Even some veteran sailors who have sailed for many years may not be able to stand the magnitude of this shaking. If they were driving a bus at the moment, at the current speed, they would undoubtedly be racing like crazy. No, there is a sharp corner ahead. Duke Inuarashi was shocked in his heart. He held on to the fence of the ship tightly, and shouted loudly. However, the crew members below who were controlling the speed of the ship didn't seem to hear it at all, and the speed only increased. But if you think about it carefully, everyone on the deck is either foaming at the mouth and spitting all over the place, or, like Duke Inuarashi, because they can't move freely, they can only hold on to the fence and can't go anywhere. Seeing that everyone was about to hit the riverbank, Monet, who had just come out of the cabin, saw the picture of the crisis in front of him, and saw her non-stop. He rushed back to the cabin, wanting to inform the critical moment, although the speed of the boat had indeed slowed down. When the last 50 meters, judging from the experience of Duke Inulan, Longcheng and others, there is no doubt that according to the speed, they will still go straight to the shore. Once this happens, I am afraid that everyone's last line of life and death will disappear. Because it is only less than 200 meters away from the entrance, if Akainu and Longcheng think the same, and turn around the island with suspicion, they will definitely notice the tragic situation here. Since that's the case, that's the only way. Longcheng's heart is tight, although his physical strength is a little weak, but for everyone's safety, and for the sake of what he has just passed. If it is exciting, he decides to go all out and fight. 100,000 tile Zhengchen fist injury. Long time, what Longcheng has used is the power of his combined system, and the power of the double tile is punched. However, this time, for the first time, he used the most authentic Hua Zhengchen taught to him by Jinbei. Authentic Hua Zhengchen is not about destructive power, but about the control and fusion of strength. To control the strength of the whole body extremely freely, just like Jinbei, you can integrate the strength into the seawater, and finally the seawater is swept up with just one movement. Speaking of power control, I am afraid that the cognitive power in Longcheng is only comparable to Kaihuang and Shaoli in the Naruto world. Have to admit that this is a move that Longcheng has not been able to use for a long time, and even Duke Inulan and Cat Viper were slightly stunned, and there was a hint of surprise in their eyes. Give me, go. Under Longcheng's control, he first transformed into the state of a nine-tailed fox, and then concentrated his power on the nine tails. Then, Longcheng jumped to the wall of the ship. Boom. Immediately, a powerful force like an air cannon was swiped out from the Dragon City's nine tails. And because of the backward thrust, he slammed into the wall behind him at a very fast speed, and even left a pothole. At this time, Longcheng, because he used most of the strength of his body, coupled with the excessive control of strength, both consciousness and physical strength were greatly weakened. Master. Your Highness. Cat Viper and Duke Inulan immediately stepped forward to help Longcheng get up. When Longcheng recovered, the super powerful air cannon he fired hit the shore 50 meters away, and the ship was also hit by damage. The influence of Longcheng's rebound force slightly deviated from the direction. This scene was seen by Caesar, and this was the first time he was convinced by Longcheng's self-sacrificing spirit. Give me a turn. After all, at a time like this, Caesar couldn't sit still and twisted the rudder with gritted teeth. 305. Coexist with the Dragon City. At this moment of life and death, even Monet, who was a spy and only devoted himself to Doflamingo, was helping Caesar Current to control the direction. However, due to the speed and instability of the river, the huge hull cannot quickly turn to the other side in a very short period of time. On the boat was almost exhausted because they had just fought a battle with the pirate group that Bundiwald belonged to. Only Monet, Caesar Current and Caribou still have a lot of strength, because they are unwilling to risk their lives for Dragon City, and they do not even want to forge a deep hatred with the Navy. Just when everyone held their breath and resigned, suddenly, a female voice came from the cockpit. Snowyaki. Soon as the voice fell, I saw that on the right side of the boat, a wall of snow quickly formed. A thick snow wall, more than 1 meter thick. Boom. Instant, the hull hit the snow wall, causing the entire pirate ship to vibrate violently, and the partners on the deck also tightly grasped the fixtures around them to avoid being thrown out of the hull. In order not to damage the hull, Monet tried his best to greatly reduce the hardness of the snow wall. But in this way, the snow wall is very easy to be knocked down by the pirate ship, so this is also a big problem for Monet. At this moment, Caesar, who clenched the rudder with both hands, did not dare to relax at all, and turned the rudder to the left to the end. 40 meters. 30 meters. 22 meters. 15 meters. Finally, with the concerted efforts of everyone, the bow began to shift to the left at a faster and faster speed, getting further and further away from the corner that was about to hit. However, unfortunately, just as Monet took a long breath and dissipated the power of the snow fruit, the stern of the boat touched the river bank slightly due to everyone's negligence. This collision suddenly shocked everyone on the boat, as if a canoe suddenly appeared behind everyone. Fortunately, because the bow had shifted, it was soon out of the sudden danger. Young master, are you all right? Kanju saw that Longcheng's lower body was a little weak, and he seemed to be unable to stand still. He was startled and asked in deep unease. The cat pit viper was also very nervous to help the city, not knowing what to do. At this time, after seeing the situation in Longcheng, the people around them seemed to have seen the result of being killed soon, and for a while, the atmosphere on the ship became more rigid. However, from the very beginning, the pirates who had been loyal to Dragon City along with Cat Viper and Duke Inuarashi slowly regained their strength, because they knew that their mission was to protect His Royal Highness Dragon City, not to make your highness protect yourself. Everyone cheer me up, don't be discouraged, we are willing to live and die together with His Royal Highness Longcheng. At this moment, Feng Kelly's excited shouts seemed to once again pry up everyone's belief and desire for survival. Gradually, a relatively large pirate ship disappeared into the deep river. And on the other side, there was also an extremely tense and about to break out war. Who had just escaped from the island ship, was spared his life by Sakazuki, but shortly after leaving, unfortunately collided with the Blackbeard pirates and the Kid pirates. Yes, although Kid fought a fierce battle with Longcheng, and even shattered an arm with a punch from Longcheng, and even took away the pirate ship, his thief heart was still immortal, and he was still thinking about the fruit of shock. So after gathering the rest of the companions, with the help of the power of the companions, he once again seized a new pirate ship that was far inferior to the previous one from the hands of other pirate groups. Because the original owners of this ship did not pay attention to hygiene for a long time, there was always a strange smell on the ship, and I was thinking about whether to change another one. At this time, the Kid pirates met Beth Tower. As for the Blackbeard pirates, they wanted to avoid them, but the angry Beasta called him directly. Blackbeard had no choice but to follow the other party's wishes and ordered someone to drive the boat over. He did it entirely because he didn't take Beasta seriously. Who was a little lucky at first, thought that the opportunity was right in front of him when he saw Beasta, who was covered in injuries. Not to mention, the opponent was the captain of the 5th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. If Beasta can be defeated, once the news spreads, let alone face, the bounty will definitely be higher than the current 315 million. Faced with the temptation to gain both fame and fortune, even though it will be a little tricky, the ambitious Kid still doesn't want to miss this opportunity. This also corresponds to what Aunt Shaw, who lived with Raleigh of Hades in the original book, commented on him, saying that he was a very unlovable child. Although there are no diamonds. I see a Aunt handle porcelain work, but it depends on what kind of diamond it is. In the original book, Kid, who was extremely ambitious, dared to openly challenge the red hair when he could not tell the difference between the power of the enemy and the enemy. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 306. Meet Blackbeard. This also resulted in the loss of a severed arm and a prosthetic limb. Blind expansion of ambition, arrogance, extreme ego, this is the classic image of Kid. When he saw Beasta and Blackbeard glaring at each other, Kid felt as if he had been forgotten by them. Although the new prosthesis on his left arm had not been fully pressed, it did not affect his devil fruit's ability and domineering at all. Use. Just as Kid was about to tear his face and speak, Beasta spoke first. I saw him with a grim face, staring at Blackbeard with extreme grief and indignation, and said sadly, Blackbeard, as long as you hand over the dark fruit, and then abolish the hand you used to kill Sachi, I will spare you. 1. Ha 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 ha. After hearing Beasta's words, Blackbeard suddenly laughed wildly, revealing the tooth hole in his mouth. This laughter was extremely frantic, even a bit domineering. Back then, just the night before the news of Whitebeard's death was spread, Blackbeard happened to hear about it from Sachi's mouth. The deep black beard of the city immediately. Bad thoughts in his heart, he killed Saki without hesitation, and stole the secret fruit secretly. Although there are many companions on the ship who have a friendly relationship with Blackbeard, they disagree with this statement, but Whitebeard has long mentioned it in front of Beasta, saying that Blackbeard may have other plans. Beasta now clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. This scene is naturally very rare in normal times, because Beasta can show a calm and confident smile no matter what the situation is. Knowing this, before Whitebeard died, he should have slaughtered this beast who killed his companions with his own hands. Thinking of Sachi's death, Beasta's heart suddenly had a bitter feeling. Suddenly, Blackbeard stopped his frantic smile and said, Beasta, I originally considered letting you go, to delay my time to find the fruit of the shock. Since you want to die so much, I have to fulfill you. Already. Blackbeard has completely changed into another person since he ate the dark fruit, completely different from the simple and honest character he used to be in the Whitebeard Pirates. Arrogant and arrogant, everything in the room is his companion. If it hadn't been for someone who knew him, it would have been unimaginable that Blackbeard would have been so stupid and thick back then. Just now, Blackbeard also unintentionally revealed the truth. Since he was discovered by Beasta, he had no choice but to kill the other party. Blackbeard is also concerned, because he has never had the power of devil fruit before, so his ability to dark fruit is still under development. That he discovered that the dark fruit was such a superb devil fruit. If he could fully develop all his powers, he would no longer have to look at other people's faces. Time must not attract more powerful enemies because of excessive arrogance. To do this, he must get rid of Beasta to save the trouble. Hey, you 2 old fellows, did you hear me talking? Mad Blackbeard, don't you understand the first come first served rule? At this moment, Kid, who was completely ignored, was furious, his face was flushed with anger, and he shouted intolerably. In his opinion, Blackbeard's reputation has always been small, relying on the protection of Whitebeard's father, so he can live safely to this day. But now that Whitebeard is dead, Blackbeard, who has lost his protective umbrella, is like a young animal who was slaughtered by others. He never thought that he would dare to use such a tone to talk to Beasta and even see it in his own eyes. Kid is even more unforgivable. What? Hey, Kid, I know you are one of the 11 supernovas among the pirates, but I advise you, it's better to be polite, or you will regret it. Blackbeard showed a mighty look, looked at Kid, and chuckled. Marshally, you only show some respect to Lao Su, don't look at it, who are you talking to? If you don't want to die, just get away from me, Lao Su is not interested in you, it's better to kill one dog, at least get a full meal. As soon as Kid said this, he immediately attracted the laughter of the rest of the ship's companions. The laughter was very harsh and made Blackbeard very unhappy. Kid didn't even bother to call Blackbeard, and instead called out his full name directly, which was obviously extremely disrespectful to Blackbeard. Suddenly, Blackbeard's eyes were angry, and a murderous intent flashed in his pupils. Kid, this is what you asked for. Before I found the fruit of shock, I didn't want to kill, since you were looking for death. If you don't complete it, you will have trouble sleeping and eating. The voice fell, a strange and hideous smile appeared on Blackbeard's face. This is completely different from the wild laughter just now. It is a kind of laughter that can make people tremble. Under the stare of Beasta taking a deep breath, there was a scene in front of everyone on the boat that everyone on the boat couldn't believe. 307. Devour Kid. I saw Blackbeard stretched out his hands with an insane smile on his face, and at the same time, an indescribable dark aura emerged from his hands, almost covering his hands. At this moment, Blackbeard's hands are more like a singularity that can swallow everything. Who had just laughed and twitched, calmed down a little after seeing this. He still didn't think that Blackbeard would be his opponent. At this moment, Fan Oka on the Blackbeard pirates suddenly let out a gloomy laugh, which seemed to imply to everyone that a good show was about to be staged. Dark water. However, in a situation that everyone didn't expect, Kid's body was inexplicably out of control, and it seemed that he was being dragged forward. What happened? What happened? Wait, Kid reacted. Blackbeard strengthened the power of the dark fruit, and sucked Kid over in one breath. Who took off from the hull and flew across the sea, subconsciously realized that Blackbeard's weird hands might have another mystery. So he was furious in his heart, and his eyes slammed, and his eyes were fixed on Blackbeard. Yes, at the moment of crisis, he unleashed his domineering arrogance. However, with his current overlord color, he is only stronger than Luffy, and in effect, he can only stun some shrimp soldiers and crab generals, far from being comparable to the substantial damage of red-haired Shanks. It didn't have any effect on Blackbeard. After all, he has not fully developed the power of the dark fruit to the extreme, and, in terms of combat experience, he is by no means comparable to Kid, Luffy, Beasta and others. Compared with the countless experiences of these people's life and death, Blackbeard has become a shrimp soldier and crab general. Realizing that something was not right, Blackbeard enhanced the attraction of darkness slightly, and in less than 3 seconds, Blackbeard sucked Kid over and grabbed the opponent's neck. Ha 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 ha. How about Kid, do you have any last words to say now? Blackbeard smiled again and asked. Damn, what kind of strange power is this? Won't let go. Although Kid couldn't understand, and couldn't bear the small character like Blackbeard laughing wildly in front of him, he inexplicably felt a shiver from the other party's smile. Except, in front of the red-haired Shanks in the city, he has never been insulted like this. You know, Kid has always been honored by being the first among the Supernova 11. This honor is absolutely not allowed to be defiled by an idiot Blackbeard. You dirty thing, give me. Let go. However, it was end time for Kid to throw another punch and hit Blackbeard. Blackbeard grinned, and continued to use the power of the dark fruit. Every time at this moment, he wanted to play more, look at the opponent in front of him, and let the opponent experience, what is life better than death. At this time, Beasta stood on the deck of the ship, his eyes were slightly opened, revealing the color of extreme astonishment, and he saw that Blackbeard was using a strange force to directly suck Kid into the darkness of his hands. Beasta tried his best to keep himself calm, and said with clenched teeth, sure enough. Blackbeard, you stole the dark fruit, Sachi trusts so much, but you are so cruel, and you kill him. Blackbeard, isn't it? Don't you have any regrets? After Blackbeard completely sucked Kid into the darkness, he would dissipate the ability of the dark fruit, and smiled, Beasta, since you already know the secret, either kill him yourself, or I will do it myself, like killing Kid. Do will kill you like you. Choose for yourself, do and delay my time to find the fruit of Junjun. You bastard. After witnessing what just happened, Beasta really thinks that the current Blackbeard may become a very difficult opponent, which makes him have to think twice. After all, after a battle with Bondewald, at least half of Beasta's strength was consumed, and then facing the ominous Blackbeard, it is very likely that he will suffer a loss. But according to Blackbeard's tone, it was obvious that he was going to be killed together with him. That being the case, Vista would never bow his head to a sinner like Blackbeard who betrayed his companions in order to survive. Rose Dance. After making up his mind, Vista's eyes were firm, and he drew out his 2 knives. Today either he died, or Blackbeard died. Just when the battle was about to heat up, Fanoka was alert, took out a telescope, looked behind him, and immediately reminded, "No, it's the Straw Hats and the red-haired pirate ship." "What, the 2 of them? I heard that they have already arrived in the nearby waters. Why did they suddenly return to the sea?" Blackbeard was shocked in his heart, he couldn't understand it. But after thinking about it, now, the person who prevented him from finding the fruit of Junjun, wouldn't it have lost 2 rivals? "Hey, Vista, today you are lucky, if you meet again next time, you will be so lucky. Already. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 308. Infighting. With a burst of arrogant laughter, Blackbeard immediately ordered to detour and continue onwards. And loves the gun, Chinlu. Also like Blackbeard, with a disdainful expression, glanced at the other members of the Kid Pirates. Immediately, almost all of the people on the boat trembled slightly, and their faces showed fear. Kid, who was known as the leader of the 11 supernovas at sea, was solved by Blackbeard. This is their past. The stupid, clumsy Blackbeard you know. Only Kira, Hit, Wei and others stared at the black pirate ship with the Blackbeard drifting away, but they had nothing to do with each other, and could only be unwilling. Kept silent. At this time, Hit and Wei looked towards Kira one after another. Because of Kid 14, the entire pirate group became a group of dragons without a leader. Based on their past understanding of the others on the boat, if nothing else happened, it is very likely that everyone will choose Kira, who has a good relationship with Kid, as the new captain. Regarding the position of the new captain, Hit and Wei also retained their own opinions, but they felt that they themselves were more suitable to be captains than Kira. You two, don't think I don't know what you want to do. We are all pirates on the same boat. If you have anything to say, you may as well say it. Kira suddenly expressed their thoughts in front of Hit and the 2 without hesitation. Hit couldn't help but be shocked, his face darkened, and he said, "Kira, since you have said this for the sake of it, I won't beat around the bush. To be honest, since Kid is dead, our pirate group, we are in need of a new captain to lead everyone on the voyage. I know very well that you and Kid have a very good relationship, but well, if you want to be a captain, you have to look at each other's abilities." Hit's implication is, everyone simply fights, and whoever wins will be the captain. I also agree with Hit's statement. They also chose to stand on Hit's side at this time, saying, as a captain, not only should you have calm judgment, but you should also have the ability to protect everyone. Hearing that the pirate ship on the opposite side seemed to have some infighting, Vista just groaned and turned his eyes back to the sea in the sky. "Genus, show me the west side, is there any pirate ship haunts?" Vista stretched out his finger at this time and pointed in one direction, and at the same time, a fat boatman at a high place said. Vista's sight is domineering, unlike Longcheng, who can use the absolute field to perceive the range of 20 kilometers. He only vaguely felt that there seemed to be 2 weak energies fluctuating in this respect. Genus immediately raised a single-eyed high-power telescope in his hand, and then reported loudly, "Vista, there are 2 pirate groups, which are heading towards us at the moment, and the sign will not there is something wrong, it should be the Black Thief ship of the red-haired Shanks and the Straw Hats. The copyright of the novel resource belongs to the original author, the text is only for personal study and trial reading, please delete it within 24 hours after downloading, please support the subscription Genuine Novels. Reject piracy. Strange, the direction behind me is obviously the direction of return, why did they turn back in such a hurry?" Then, Vista asked loudly, "Look, the red hair and the straw hats are being chased by the navy." Although this situation, even Vista can't believe it, if it's just a stupefied Luffy, maybe it makes sense, but there is also a red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors, who has the most powerful weapon that others admire most. The color is domineering, and his swordsmanship is even higher than that of Hawkeye. Just ask such a strong man, who in the Navy can force the red hair to withdraw so quickly. No. No. At Bista's prompt, Genus took another look in the distant direction and explained, the two of them were not pursued by the Navy. After hearing the words, Bista immediately pondered and said to himself, could it be that there was an accident? At this moment, Bista, through the relationship between the two, thought of another person, Longcheng. Yes, Longcheng and I also suffered serious injuries after a fierce battle with Bondewald. That guy Akainu has always hated pirates, and he and Longcheng still have some grudges in the past. Could it be that Longcheng met Akainu? Thinking of this, Bista couldn't help but be startled. Because at that time, he clearly saw that the black pirate ship in Longcheng had been far away from Akainu and the others. Based on Bista's understanding of Akainu, he thought that Akainu would be caught first. Living in Bondewald, who was also seriously injured, I am afraid that after that, Longcheng has been out of danger. That's why Bista chose to leave on his own, instead of chasing Longcheng. However, these are just his guesses, whether it is true or not, and he can only make plans after meeting the red-haired Shanks and the Straw Hats. Everyone listen, give it to me right away. Set sail and join the red-haired pirate ship. Bista ordered immediately. At this time, Kira, Hit and the others are still making a fuss over the captain's affairs. 309. Akainu is coming. Kira, I don't like you for a long time. If you want to be the captain, you have to beat me down first. Hit was furious and said. And me, Kira, don't think that if Kid is dead, you can become the captain logically. I don't think you have that great ability, so just obey us. Wei said with a bitter face. Didn't I tell you just now? Did you see Kid die with your own eyes? He was just sucked away by Blackbeard. It's uncertain whether he's dead or not. Why bother with infighting at such a time? Kira took a small step on her hind legs and was pushed to the edge of the boat by the two in front of her. HMPH, Kira, it's not like you don't have eyes. We all saw just now that Kid was slowly squeezed and deformed in front of the strange power of Blackbeard, and he was able to make him with a body like steel. Collapsed into that appearance, it can be seen that the strength of Blackbeard has not been what it used to be. Hit said solemnly. Hit, don't talk nonsense with him, he's just wanting to delay time on purpose, knowing that Kid won't come back, but insisting on saying this is nothing more than taking the opportunity to win more people to join him. Wei said coldly. The rest of you, you're all watching what to do, come over and stop the two of them. Kira was furious in her heart, and said to her companions around her. However, everyone also thinks that the words of the two of Hit are not unreasonable. What's more, among these people, there are also many people who hope that the three of them will fight in a big one. It is best to lose both, so that they will have the opportunity to covet the captain position. Obviously, Kira also heard it, and the two Bista in front of him couldn't control them at the moment. He saw his pirate ship quickly moving westward, and it didn't take long for him to meet the red-haired Shanks Sea. The band of thieves and the Straw Hats meet on the third island. At this moment, the pirate ship where Longcheng is located is hiding in the second half of the river. With the advantage of this long and narrow river, Longcheng and others can also take a breath. Your Highness, are you feeling better now? Cat Viper cared. Longcheng simply nodded and sat cross-legged on the deck, looking forward carefully while recovering his strength. Due to the sharp weakening of his consciousness, he could no longer display his discernment normally, and could only observe the movements around him with experience, just like everyone else. At this moment, Monet, who was sweating on her forehead, walked down from the cockpit. After encountering Longcheng, she was still the same as before, deliberately pretending to be obedient, and said, Your Highness Dragon City, Caesar and I have carefully confirmed that the naval battleship Akainu belongs to has not passed through this area at present. Hearing these words, Longcheng was a little surprised at first, why Caesar had such a skill. Based on his memory of the original plot, Caesar didn't seem to be arrogant, let alone the sensibility, not even armed. However, considering Caesar's special status, Longcheng was not suspicious. Caesar is also a mad scientist. Maybe he really has some secret skills that have not been disclosed. Anyway, the bloodline factor map is still there. In my own hands, forgive Caesar and dare not easily conceal and deceive him. Since Akainu has not yet arrived, Longcheng can now deal with his injuries with peace of mind. With Bondewald has already made Longcheng scarred. I have to admit that although I have been imprisoned for many years, Bondewald's hatred of the Navy has never changed from beginning to end. The key is that Bondewald's combat power is still the same as in the rumors, which is terrifying and frightening. Duke Inuarashi said the truth. Monet continued, fortunately, Bondewald just hates the Navy, not us. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let us go so easily before. I don't know how long we want to stay in this place next, let alone when Akainu will pass through here. Speaking of this, Longcheng immediately calm down and hope to get back to normal as soon as possible. However, after a short while, since Monet was not around, Caesar walked out of the cockpit and said to Longcheng and others, "It's Akainu, Akainu is here." What? As soon as these words came out, everyone on the ship immediately became nervous. Duke Inu Lan said in a low voice, "Young master, should we start the ship and move forward a little bit, it will be safer." Caesar objected, "No, I'm afraid to do so, it will be more dangerous. Once our pirate ship moves, there will be movements. Akainu wants to arrest us now, no matter any movement, he should not let go." Although Longcheng felt that Caesar's words were not unreasonable, but if Akainu asked people to search for people along the river, they would be exposed within 10 minutes. Fighting in this river section, the sound of fighting will definitely arouse Akainu's high alert. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 310. The crisis is approaching. The best way is, continue to move forward along the river, until the end of the river. If they encounter the search Navy team, they also have a way to deal with this group of people. Reason why Longcheng decided that Akainu would not lead the entire naval battleship to come in person was mainly due to the problem of the river. This kind of river, even the medium-sized pirate ships like Longcheng and the others, can drive hard enough, not to mention the kind that are exclusively used by the Navy. Large military warships. Afterwards, Caesar continued to return to the cockpit to observe the movement outside the island. At this moment, I saw 3 large warships, headed by Akainu, passing by the edge of the trail majestic. Sakaski's eyes moved on the boat, and he couldn't help looking at the island on the left bank. "General Akainu, should we send a small team into this island to find out?" At this moment, a sturdy vice admiral asked. Sakaski thought about it carefully, then moved his eyes back to the front view, and said nonchalantly, "If you have to search for such a huge island, when you find it, you must continue to move forward quickly, you must not let, Dragon this guy is running away from us again." Maybe, this is also what Longcheng hoped that he would arrange it like this. In fact, when they were about to arrive at this island, Sakaski had already set their sights on this place. If a pirate group really landed here, they would definitely dock their ships on the shore. But Sakaski has never seen a pirate ship, which shows that there is not even a pirate group on the island. In fact, this is not Sakaski's overconfidence, but actual maritime experience. Any navy with several years of sailing experience can understand Sakaski's idea. Result, the 3 major naval warships passed by the shore of this trail at a very fast speed. Noticing this, Caesar, who was in the cockpit, felt agitated in his heart, almost exclaiming, "And everyone would be out of danger soon." No one expected that behind Longcheng and the others, there was a sudden loud shock. This sound was more like the crackling sound that occurred after the rocks were crushed and blasted. The sound was so loud that it spread all over the island, and there was a bang, causing a large number of birds to fly away from the place quickly after being alarmed, causing an uproar. Almost everyone on the pirate ship was terrified. Seeing that everyone was about to dodge Akainu's pursuit, he never imagined that there were other pirate groups fighting on this island. Even Longcheng couldn't help but sweat coldly at this moment, and his face solidified. "Wait a minute," Sakaski said suddenly, "it's weird, There's not even a single pirate ship near this island. Why are there people fighting on the island with the kind of violent movement just now? It's by no means ordinary. The impact must be the destructive power of the rocks crumbling and shattering. Could it be that there is a river like an undercurrent nearby for boats to enter? Realizing this, Akainu suddenly widened his eyes, for fear that he would miss some kind of opportunity. I saw that he immediately changed his mind and ordered, "Get around to the back of this island for me immediately." "Yes." The Navy responded in unison. Soon after, as expected by Sakazuki, the only river channel was found by them. "Second Squadron listens to the order. This general ordered you to immediately dispatch a 12-person team, and in 10 minutes. No, within 3 minutes, let me confirm whether Longcheng and their pirate ships have island." Akainu gave the order again in the tone of a general. Akainu doesn't believe that if the Dragon City guys are really on this island, their ship will disappear out of thin air. Although 3 minutes of time put a lot of pressure on the Vice Admiral next to him, but in front of the solemn Akainu, he didn't even have the qualifications to say a word, so he could only do it with all his might. However, just as the squad was about to set off, Sakazuki, who was standing high on the battleship, suddenly saw a familiar scene. This is a picture made up of circles of lines. As one of the 3 generals, Sakazuki naturally recognized it at a glance. That is the ability of Don Quixote Doflamingo's Thread Fruit, and it is also a special ability after the awakening of the Devil Fruit. I remember that before the departure from the naval headquarters, Doflamingo broke up with Moonlight Moria, saying that he must find Moonlight Moria to settle accounts. No wonder Doflamingo would use the power of awakening. It turned out to be dueling with Moonlight Moria. After discovering this, Akainu didn't dare to waste another half a minute. He stretched out his right index finger and pointed straight ahead, while shouting angrily, "Don't stop. Chase me." Damn, because he was overly cautious, it took some time again. And we must not let Longcheng escape again, absolutely not. When his heart trembled, Caesar saw Akainu inexplicably lead people away, and the speed seemed to be faster than when he came. Although I don't know the reason, at least, everyone has passed the dangerous period safely. 311. Good news and bad news. Caesar Current, did something unexpected happen? Or is it that Sakazuki himself led the Navy to encircle and suppress us? Because Longcheng couldn't sit still, with the help of Duke Inuarashi, he stepped into the cockpit of the ship and appeared behind Caesar. At this time, Caesar Curran was slightly stunned, and then he came back to his senses and explained calmly, "No, on the contrary." Sakazuki left inexplicably. "What?" As soon as Kyle's words were spoken, Longcheng and Duke Inulan couldn't help but look stunned, as if a thunderous sound flashed through their minds. Because he couldn't believe it, Longcheng stretched out his hand and said, "Duke Inulan, I want to go to the top of the boat to see. You give me the telescope." "Young master, it's too dangerous to do this. What if this is a trap for Sakazuki to deliberately invite the young master to appear? Once the young master appears, they will definitely threaten us with lightning speed. Come here." Duke Inuarashi persuaded. Since everyone had been on deck before, no one noticed that Doflamingo and Moonlight Moria were also on the island. Although Longcheng still doesn't believe in Caesar Curran, but for some reason, he firmly believes in what the other party said just now. "Duke Inuarashi, don't worry, I will take care to hide myself. I just want to take a look at the situation outside." Longcheng faced the two in front of him and said. Duke Inulan tried to dissuade him a few more words, but seeing that Longcheng still insisted on doing so, he could only hand over the telescope to him. Then, Longcheng walked out of the cockpit alone. Under the effect of the shaved flash, Longcheng came to the top of the ship in a blink of an eye. This is a copper pillar specially used for storm and lightning protection. Longcheng randomly found a place where he could stand on one foot. After that, he raised the binoculars in his right hand and looked 400 or 500 meters away. Far away. Indeed, as Caesar Curran said, the 3 warships led by Sakazuki, not only did not send the Navy to enter the island, but also left. How does this guy's brain grow? Longcheng sighed with a little luck. At first, he also made the worst plan. Nasky personally led people to search, although it is unlikely, after all, whether Longcheng and his party will appear on the island. They do not know. If not on the island, how would they? It wasn't because it took a lot of time that Longcheng felt that Sakazuki should not go out in person. However, even Sakazuki and Longcheng still have back moves. Of course, this is also the last thing he wants to face, because the possibility of winning depends entirely on his luck. Deck. Nearly 70% of the sea looked up at the thieves, and they were all in Longcheng's every move. It seemed that everyone was looking forward to Longcheng to bring good news to everyone. At this moment, Longcheng suddenly remembered the sound just now, which was almost deafening. Judging from his experience, this impact could at least destroy the entire mountain in one go. So, Longcheng looked back at the telescope again, and his eyes were stunned, as if he had discovered something. That's right, the picture that seems to be composed of lines can't be wrong. In the whole pirate world, Longcheng can hardly think of a second person. Doflamingo. I didn't expect him to be here too. After realizing that the situation was not good, Longcheng immediately got off the top of the ship and fell back to the deck. Your Highness, how is the situation outside the island? Cat Viper was on the side, noticed that Longcheng's expression was a little strange, and asked. Longcheng didn't hide it, nodded and replied, Everyone, I have good news and bad news to tell you. At this time, Duke Inuarashi, Monet and others also walked out of the cockpit and came to Longcheng. Longcheng continued, the good news is, Sakazuki has led his naval warships away from this island, and has not sent anyone to search for our whereabouts. Hearing these words, everyone looked at me, I looked at you, and then one by one showed a happy smile, as if in the endless darkness, they saw vitality and hope. However, in contrast, Duke Inuarashi wanted to know the latter, and asked, Young master, what about the bad news? Longcheng said bluntly, the bad news is, behind us, there seems to be someone fighting. One of them, I have already guessed who he is, our previous opponent, Doflamingo, one of the 7 Wuhai under the king. Brother. Fell. Many pirates did not know why. It stands to reason that although Doflamingo is a legitimate army recognized by the world government and cannot fear the pursuit of the navy, in the final analysis, they are also a group of pirates. Moreover, most of the people on the ship have also heard a little about the underground activities that Doflamingo did. The most important thing is, hasn't Longcheng defeated the opponent before? Don't you know how to repent and want to take the opportunity to bite back on the problem that everyone thinks? Of course, it is also the most troublesome problem for Longcheng. Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 312. Only the strong can define good and evil. Young master, are you worried that Brother Doflamingo will suddenly attack us when our strength is weak now? Duke Inuarashi asked. After all, Duke Inuarashi and Doflamingo didn't meet many times, and when he was in Wano before, he didn't have the chance to meet, so he didn't seem to understand Doflamingo's character. Is quite familiar with this underworld boss-level character. Character is rebellious, ruthless, and the cold smile on the outside seems to prove his cruelty to the world. In the original plot, Doflamingo would kill for his own personal purposes, even for his relatives who hindered him. Although some people think that this is a kind of spirit that a king should have, but in Longcheng's eyes, this is clearly cruelty to innocent people. Original book, Doflamingo's most famous words immediately appeared in Longcheng's mind. Even the seemingly gentlest object must hide the joy of seeing blood. When you encounter a guy who doesn't obey you, you must use your strength to subdue the other party. Only the strong standing at the top can define what is good and evil. In Longcheng's view, if someone regards the latter as his life motto, then such people are destined to achieve their goals and not break their hands. In the face of such an opponent, the spirit of the contract and the agreement are completely a matter of one sentence. If one day, Longcheng's strength drops sharply, he firmly believes that Brother Doflamingo will come to him and be ashamed. 4. These thoughts in his heart, Longcheng will naturally not explain to any outsiders, After all, it involves his identity as a transmigrator. Even Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper, Longcheng didn't tell them. Immediately, Longcheng explained, Brother Doflamming has surrendered in the dark world for so many years. After he meets us, we still don't know whether he will attack us, so I don't want to use everyone's. Risk your life. But at this time, only one person showed a different look from the others, calling it Monet. Like this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, if I can miss Longcheng who can help Doflamingo defeat this matter, it is best to bring Longcheng's head back to the naval headquarters, then Longo will definitely get a bigger deal from the world government. Recognition, and supreme power. Don Quixote family can also move towards a more brilliant future under the leadership of Togo. Thinking of this, Monet's eyes moved, a strange light flashed, and then he quickly backed away from the crowd, and then left the deck unknown. However, Longcheng's domineering arrogance has not been activated at the moment, so he did not know that Monet would turn his back on it. Don't even know that in a short time, there will be a great danger. This danger is no less than the arrival of Akainu. After jumping off the pirate ship, Monet seemed to be guilty of a thief, and was extremely nervous, so he quickly waved his snow-white wings and flew into the lush jungle silently. Fortunately, everyone on the ship did not pay attention to her. Such a wonderful opportunity, we must tell Doflamingo the news. Rear. In the jungle. The gasping Doflamingo and the scarred Moonlight Moria were still fighting fiercely. Everything around was a mess, extremely hideous. This landform seems to have been twisted by some kind of huge force. Due to the fierce battle just now, the physical strength of these two has been greatly reduced, but their fighting spirit has not been weakened at all. Brother Doflamming, you bastard, how dare you suddenly attack me when I'm not prepared? Damn it, Moonlight Moria, swear, I will never spare you. At this moment, Moonlight Moria gasped deeply, with a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth, and roared angrily. Ha 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 ha. However, Doflamingo, who was wearing a big pink velvet robe, obviously didn't pay attention to the other party at all. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said with a wicked smile, Morlia, since it's so far, I might as well tell you a secret. In fact, the high-level officials of the world government have long wanted to find an excuse to remove you from the seventh king. One of the 7 people in Wuhai was kicked out. After he finished speaking, Brother Doflamingo let out a grim smile again, extremely sharp and piercing, so that anyone who heard it would feel frightened. What? No, it's not true, Doflamingo, you must be trying to find an excuse to distract me so I won't fall for you. Moonlight Moria's 2 rows of white teeth clenched tightly. Morlia, in fact, you should know better than anyone else. With your current strength, you are no longer worthy of cooperating with the world government, and they don't need your happy sex anymore. That's why I ordered me to get rid of you. Doflamingo stuck out his long red tongue and sneered. You bastard, don't deceive people too much. Today, even if I die, I will definitely pull you on the back. 313. The Abused Moria. Moonlight Moria was trembling with anger at the other party's words, wishing to smash this person into pieces. Hey, Mariah, in fact, you should have noticed it long ago. If you want to blame it, you can only blame yourself for being too stupid. With a mind like yours, it is no wonder that you will be excluded by the world government, even at the expense of ordering the same king. I of Chihuahua will execute you. Before the action, you and I had such a big conflict in front of the warring states and several other senior officials of the world government, but they did not express any attitude towards it. Do you know why? Doflamingo laughed. After listening to this sentence, Moonlight Moria suddenly looked shocked, as if she realized something. That's right, it stands to reason that this sea-casting operation used more than 1/3 of the Navy's forces. It is conceivable how important this operation is. However, before the action, Sengoku and the others turned a blind eye to the dispute between him and Doflamingo, which puzzled Moonlight Moria from the very beginning. After seeing this, Doflamingo continued to sneer and said sarcastically, let me tell you, of course, because the people in the world government know very well the difference in strength between you and me, just like what you see before your eyes. In this way, since they knew what the outcome would be, why did they stop it? What's more, they also felt that there was no need to talk nonsense to a dying person. How is Moonlight Mariah? Are you finally feeling it now? The fear before death is ha 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 ha. Listening to Doflamingo's increasingly arrogant remarks, Moonlight Moria suddenly felt an unprecedented anger in the depths of her heart. However, I also feel very uncomfortable about this. Doflamingo put away his smile slightly and said, the high-level bastards of the world government, they usually treat me like a beast. I have endured the human trafficking business, but I didn't expect that this time, they would ask me to execute you, who is also the king of Chihuahua. Speaking of this, Doflamingo's eyes, like the eyes of an eagle, stared at Moria very sharply. Because he knows better than anyone that all the members of Wangxia Chihuahua are just dogs of the world government. As long as one day, any one of them has no value for use, they will be brutally strangled by the world government. Maybe, Moonlight Moria's today, tomorrow. At this moment, Moonlight Moria vomited out a mouthful of blood and clutched, Brother Doflaming, can you tell me who asked you to do this in the Warring States period? Hey, of course it wasn't him, where would he be executed? The power of the king under the Chihuahua, but the people above. Doflamingo grinned, stretched out and pointed upwards. Originally, I secretly followed you, and I also wanted to kill you while you were robbing the Junjun fruit. In this case, if you die in this naval operation, how much? Can you have a little face? Doflamingo said. World government, how can you do this? I, Moonlight Mariah, have done it in the past, whether it is due to hard work. Why do you have to cross the river and demolish the bridge? You are ungrateful. Moonlight Moria closed her eyes tightly, her tone very solemn. Okay, I've finished what I have to say, it's time to send you on your way. Saying that, Doflamingo put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked slowly towards Moonlight Moria. Because of his unique trick just now, after the shadow gathering place, he was easily broken by Doflamingo's fruit awakening power, and even left a fist-sized blood hole in his abdomen. This is tantamount to giving Moonlight Moria an almost fatal injury. At this moment, let alone let him fight back, even escaping became impossible. Carefully, Doflamingo's words are obviously not wrong. The same as the king of Chihuahua. Replace yourself. Long for Doflamingo to walk in front of him, looking down at Moonlight Mariah, who was kneeling on the ground in a condescending manner. Seeing the corner of his mouth grinning, just as he was about to extend his hand, suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. Doflamingo, great to see you at last. This voice sounds quite excited. If it is pretending, it is difficult to pretend. At this moment, Doflamingo turned his head to look, and there was a hint of suspicion in his eyes. Since Monet would appear here, it means that the pirate group to which Longcheng belongs must be nearby. Monet, when you come to me at this time, don't tell me, you just want to see me. Doflamingo's words were slightly lower, and he said more disdainfully. Then, he turned his eyes back to Moria, and expressed a little indifference to Monet's sudden appearance. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 314. Ming Brothers defect. I remember the last time, it was because Monet gave him false information, so he was slaughtered on Longcheng. As the leader of the underground world, the king of the underworld, one of the 7 Wuhei under the king, and the ruler of the Don Quixote family, how could he not report this? You and the Majesty are based in the underground world. Monet was slightly stunned at first. He always felt that Doflamingo's attitude towards him was a little wrong, but he couldn't say why, or because he had just rescued Longcheng and his party. Thief, she feels guilty about Doflamingo in her heart. Anyway, she is willing to continue to support Doflamingo unconditionally, because Monet always feels that only he is the most qualified to become the real One Piece. Brother Doflaming, Longcheng, they don't know that I sneaked out secretly. If they find out, no matter. How do I explain? I am afraid that Longcheng will also be suspicious of me, so I have to tell you the situation as soon as possible, so that I can go back in time. Monet looked flustered and spoke quickly. However, Doflamingo still looked indifferent and asked, if you have something to say it quickly, don't waste my time. It was the first time that Monet was so neglected by Doflamingo, but now, she couldn't help thinking about it, so she said, it's Dragon City, Dragon City. In order to avoid Sakazuki's pursuit, they hid in a place not far from here. To the riverbank of 1 kilometer, with the current reputation of Dragon City among the world's pirates, as long as you can kill Doflamingo, you will definitely be greatly appreciated by the world government when you go back. Monet almost finished this series of words in one breath, and there was an urgent meaning in his words, apparently hoping that Brother Doflamingo would leave immediately and solve the serious trouble of Longcheng. However, Doflamingo was unexpectedly unmoved, not to mention whether he believed Monet's words or not. Since the last time he was planted in the hands of Longcheng, Doflamingo has been very concerned about Monet. Suspicion arises, and the longer the time elapses, the more suspicious it becomes. As he often said on his lips, even the most gentle object has hidden joy in seeing blood. Okay, I get it. Not only did Doflamingo not stand on his horse, but even the tone of his answer was light, as if he didn't believe Monet's words at all. Dofran, you are still, what is the only thing that is in the moonlight, is it more important than the head of the Dragon City? Don't you forget that the potential danger of the Dragon City is even bigger than the High Bean Maria, even a little bit more. No one is weaker than anyone in the 7 martial seas under the king. At this time, it is absolutely a golden opportunity. I took such a big risk to come to you, but you responded to me Doflamingo with such an attitude brother, I think you are worthy of. Monet waved his hands up and down a little angrily and said. Well, then I really have to thank you. Doflamingo finally turned around, but in the next second, his grinning face revealed a hint of murderous intent, raising his voice and saying, you have said so much, after all. No, just to ask me to fight Longcheng again even if he is alone, I may not be his opponent. Or, the reason why you have the opportunity to sneak here and tell me the words just now is just what Longcheng meant, not yours. As soon as these words came out, Monet was at a loss for words. What did he do wrong that would make Doflamingo feel this kind of suspicion? Although she was in the past, most of the time she was an undercover agent and stayed in Caesar. Current side, but she has known Doflamingo for many years, and it is precisely because of this that Doflamingo entrusts her with such a difficult task. Monet knew very well that once Doflamingo became suspicious of someone, he would no longer trust him as he used to. Could it be that Doflamingo even suspects himself? Realizing this, Monet couldn't help but tremble in his heart, frowning tightly, and responded with a tense expression, Doflamingo, are you questioning me? I have been loyal to you all these years, but you speak to me in this tone and attitude for no reason. Do you think it's right for me? In fact, for most loyal people, because they have a kind of innocence in their hearts, they are very brave to say something like, do you doubt me? Such words. Regrettably, such words are often the most likely to increase the suspicion of the other party. As these words came out, Doflamingo's face twitched a few times, mainly because it was the first time he was reprimanded by Monet in person, just when he wanted to calm down and analyze how much Monet's words were true. At the time, suddenly, behind him, there was a movement. 315. Shoot to a partner. Not good. Doflamingo suddenly turned his head and saw that Moonlight Moria was no longer there, but had escaped. Damn Moria, do you think you can escape? Doflamingo wanted to catch up, but Monet stretched out his hands and blocked the source in front of him. His face was condensed, and he insisted, Doflamingo, please believe me, this is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime event. Opportunity, because Longcheng had a fierce battle with Bondewald, so now he hides because of lack of physical strength. At this moment, if you don't take the opportunity to kill Longcheng, I really don't know if the next time will wait until the year of the monkey. When Monet said these words, there were even sparkling tears in his eyes, but Doflamingo chose not to trust her completely. Maybe Longcheng was injured, but it was also possible that it was intentional. Pretend in front of Monet, trying to lead him over. Therefore, Doflamingo, who eats a lot of money, is reluctant to believe Monet's words easily. Okay, Monet, go back quickly, I know what to do. As soon as Doflamingo finished speaking, a black line appeared on his forehead. Obviously, he was even displeased with Monet's rude tone and rebuke. In the Don Quixote family had ever dared to speak to him in such a tone. No, you have to find Longcheng with me now. Although Monet could feel a cold killing intent from the other party at this time, she still insisted on her obsession. At this moment, Doflamingo's eyes flashed a chill, and he immediately stretched out his right hand towards Monet. Monet burst into tears, realizing that the danger was coming. Doflamingo would not play such a joke on his subordinates. Once he made a move, he would be killed or injured. Seeing that there were more and more indistinct thin lines around him, Monet's heart tightened, his beautiful eyes flashing with tears. He looked at each other again, and said cruelly, "Brother Doflaming, if you don't kill Longcheng today, you will regret it in the future." Before the thin line was closed, Monet spread his wings and flew upwards away from the encirclement of the thin line at the fastest speed. Doflamingo gently raised his index finger and lifted it upwards, only to see those. The thin lines suspended in midair also rushed towards the sky, but in the air, Doflamingo's flexibility, obviously not as good as Monet. If he uses the power of Fruit Awakening, a Monet can be used, and Doflamingo can also take care of it, but in this way, his ability seems to be a bit pricey to deal with, and he has to use the power of Fruit Awakening. Now that Monet has flown far, Dover can take the opportunity to continue chasing after Moonlight Mariah. Cut. Anyway, this woman is no longer credible. Next time I see her, I must kill her directly. Saying that, Doflamingo chased after Aya in the direction of his escape. In the sky, who was still flying well, suddenly felt a sharp pain on her body, which stimulated her nerves. When Monet looked down, she realized that the part 5 centimeters below the left collarbone was inexplicable. There was an extra bloodstain about 10 centimeters long. Is it hurt by Doflamingo's string fruit? Monet couldn't help sighing secretly. She had clearly avoided the attacks of those almost invisible thin lines, but unexpectedly she was cut. This is the first time that Monet has been hurt by the thread fruit. Why didn't he realize that the cutting pain caused by the thread fruit would be so intense? Due to the long flight and the constant wounds, the blood flowed continuously, causing Monet's left arm to become weak, and his body immediately lost his balance, and gradually fell from the air. At this time, Longcheng and his group were on the boat, and someone happened to see this scene. Hey, that woman with wings, isn't that Monet? As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted the attention of most of the people on the boat, and everyone looked in the direction the man pointed. Sure enough, as the other party said, there was a woman who looked like Monet and fell from the sky. Young master, that woman, shouldn't she really look like Monet? Duke Inuarashi was slightly taken aback and asked. What shouldn't it be, Monet? Although it is unclear what happened, but since it was confirmed that it was Monet, Longcheng immediately shaved and used the instant flash ability to rescue Monet from midair and bring her back to the ship. When Longcheng returned to the deck again, his hands were in the posture of a princess hugging. Due to the severe pain, Monet involuntarily twitched in Longcheng's arms. This scene made many pirates on the boat drool. After all, Monet's sexy figure was also placed there, bulging forward and backward, like a beautiful woman. If it weren't for the arms being transformed into wings, it would definitely be more perfect. However, everyone can only think about it at most, but they dare not take a step beyond the thunderous pool. Because they all know that, like Monet's the best woman, only Longcheng is the most worthy of her. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 316. Cannibal Tofu. At this moment, Longcheng laid her flat on the ground with a lot of doubts in his heart, only to see the wound that was not obvious at first. With the continuous flow of blood, the wound was slowly cracking, and it became more and more the more obvious. Young master, what happened to Monet? Why did he appear in the air for no reason and then received his injury for no reason? Duke Inuarashi looked at the seemingly shallow wound below Monet's collarbone and asked. In fact, this is what Longcheng wants to know the most at the moment, so he ordered, quick, Duke Inanlin, bring the spare first aid kit on board. After a few words, Longcheng picked up Monet again and went straight to her room. At this time, there was a strange light in Caesar Current's eyes. According to his observation, the wound may have been caused by Doflamingo in the back. At this time, almost everyone on the ship was worried that they would encounter the leader of this terrifying underground world, but why did Monet go to him quietly? The situation when Nai first met. Inside the room. Not long after, Duke Inulin hurriedly brought a wooden first aid kit, and saw that Longcheng opened the first aid kit, took out a bottle of alcohol and cotton swabs, and greeted Monet without hesitation. Duke Inulin turned a blind eye at the moment, his face turned slightly red. You must know that the place where Monet was injured was just below the collarbone, very close to her tall peaks. But Longcheng didn't hesitate, let alone think too much. First, he disinfected Monet, and then put the potion on her. After that, with the help of Duke Inulan, he put a bandage on Monet. After lying down, Longcheng saw that something was wrong with Duke Inulan's face, and asked, "What's the matter with you?" "No, nothing." Just before the two of them said a few words, Caesar broke in, because he finally figured out one thing, and after confirming Monet's identity, he hoped that Longcheng would not save Monet, the traitor. "Master, Monet is probably the traitor Doflamingo sent to spy on us. Please be sure to execute her. This spy, she has been hiding her identity and hiding by my side. She must be coveting some of my experiments, want to get some research results from me." Caesar Current was furious and said. In fact, even without his reminder, Longcheng knew it well. Because in the original book, Monet was originally from Doflamingo. What made Longcheng puzzled was why Dover's name hurt her. Although Longcheng was not skilled in medicine, at least in the last Naruto world, right, some general medical techniques and a certain understanding of the structure of the human body. While he was treating Monet, he noticed that the bloodstain was not as simple as it appeared on the surface. Wound was very deep, almost reaching the heart, and it was said that it was 3/3 into the flesh, which was already considered light. However, there is one other thing that also attracted the attention of Longcheng, that is, as a scientist, Caesar Curon should have some drugs specially used for hemostasis and treatment. Why is he unwilling to contribute at this time? Obviously, Caesar Current wanted Monet to die. The face of this situation, Longcheng didn't think too much, because he hoped that he could be as open-minded as Luffy, rather than being a deliberate young master or the highness of a country. Originally, when he came to this pirate world, he also wanted to live a leisurely and immortal life of eating and waiting for death. Only because of some force majeure factors, will we embark on this road of no return. Facing Caesar Curon's questioning, Longcheng just smiled indifferently and walked out of the room without saying a word. This scene made Caesar Curon's face full of astonishment. What's the situation? Caesar followed Longcheng and left the room, and continued to lobby Longcheng, wanting to use the hand of Longcheng to kill Monet. Duke Inuarashi was the last to leave, closing the door softly. In fact, Monet had never completely fainted, she still had a little bit of consciousness, and Monet heard Feng Longcheng and the others' conversations. To be honest, whenever she recalled Doflamingo's murder, some of Doflamingo's cruel and ruthless side flashed in her mind. On one side is a ruthless and suspicious tyrant, and on the other side is an open-minded young master. Contrary, Monet felt that Longcheng was more suitable to be the pirate king than Doflamingo. Yes, before she just thought that Doflamingo was the most qualified person in the whole new world to be the pirate king, not the most worthy one. Fit. If she wants to become One Piece, in addition to having absolute strength that no one can match, she believes that she should also have an open-minded and sincere mind, instead of blindly using force to intimidate the other party and kill innocent people. On the deck. When the three of Longcheng came out, Longcheng immediately made a gesture to Caesar Curon, hoping that he would stop there. Caesar Curon didn't want to disobey Longcheng's intentions, so he had to keep his mouth shut. 317. Monet was questioned. Seeing the one from Longcheng. The gesture was quite strange. Everyone looked towards Longcheng and Caesar Curon, thinking that something had happened to Monet. Obviously, everyone is quite concerned about Monet's injury. Longcheng was slightly stunned, but he didn't think that the idea of women as the main body also existed in the world of pirates. However, these are not the most important. His Royal Highness, what's wrong with Monet's injury? We are still here just now, we are discussing this matter. Cat Viper stepped forward and asked with a little concern. This is... Waiting. After Longcheng finished speaking, Caesar Curon suddenly replied, "Cut, when you all know her true identity, you might hate her to the core." Cough cough cough. At this moment, Longcheng's face sank, he coughed a few times, and his eyes immediately looked in the direction of Caesar Curon. Caesar Curon realized that something was wrong and closed his mouth again. True identity. Although Cat Viper is very curious, does Monet have other identities? What could it be? Isn't she the female secretary of Caesar Curon? Yimo is very familiar with the performance of Longcheng just now, obviously not wanting others to know about it. It can be seen that Monet's other identity may bring danger to everyone. Of other people can be indifferent to the cat and pit viper. He only cares about the safety of Longcheng, so he asks, "Your Highness, will Monet pose a threat to you?" Of course, since Cat Viper had guessed what Longcheng meant, he naturally wouldn't say it clearly, but stepped forward again and asked Longcheng in a low voice. "Threats? That's not. Longcheng is not favoring anyone, he is not lying, and with Monet's half-hearted ability of snow and snow fruit, he is not a threat to him." According to his understanding of the original plot, the true power of shui shui fruit could not be exerted from beginning to end, and perhaps it was because of this reason that she was killed by Caesar Curon. The two wings were then sewn together. "But, Master, don't you worry that Doflamingo will burst," Caesar Curon hinted. When Longcheng heard this sentence, there was a burst of anger in his heart. Did Caesar Curon take the wrong medicine? Is he so disgusted by the fact that Monet is a spy? Then, he also took a long breath, full of his face was thoughtful. Although Caesar Curon's words were harsh, they made sense. If Monet really went to find Doflamingo, then at this moment, Doflamingo is most likely on his way. However, what Longcheng couldn't understand was why Doflamingo wanted to shoot Monet, or could it be because of some kind of conflict between them? Remember last time, Longcheng was using Monet's spy status, so he was able to successfully lure brother Doflamingo into his own trap, and finally lost to Longcheng. Presumably this matter, the blow to Doflamingo must be very big. After this incident, Longcheng deliberately pretended to be stupid, pretending to be ignorant of Monet's identity, and wanted to wait for the next opportunity to clean up Doflamingo. Judging from the current situation, Doflamingo, who has always been murderous, may have become more suspicious of Monet, and even began to distrust her. Doflamingo's most direct way to those who will hinder him is to kill them. However, Longcheng, who is familiar with the original plot, has a lot of respect for Monet's loyalty, because Monet didn't tell any secrets about Doflamingo even at the last moment. With a secret, he was indirectly killed by Caesar Curon. This is obviously a loyal but tragic character, and Longcheng has a little pity in his heart. It would be great if Monet could be so loyal to himself. "Hey, did you hear that just now? Caesar Curon seems to have said that Monet has another identity. You said, will she be a traitor?" At this time, everyone who was standing on the deck whispered and whispered in private. Go, don't talk nonsense. Miss Monet is so beautiful and so hot, how can she be a traitor? Brother, don't be deceived by the beauty of women. The more beautiful a woman is, the more deceitful she is. How many women have you said that you have been deceived by your feelings? Don't take it for granted. Miss Monet is in my heart, but she exists like a goddess. Don't insult her image in my heart. Longcheng is not interested in these gossips in his ears. He wants to go to the cockpit and plan what to do next. After all, they can't stay here all the time, considering that their physical strength is still there. Recovery, it's time to continue looking for the fruit of shock. While thinking about it, Longcheng walked towards the cab. Just when everyone was whispering in a low voice, suddenly, a familiar figure in the distance came into the eyes of Longcheng, who was walking on the stairs. Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 318. 2 people who suddenly appeared. That person is. Instant, the whole of Longcheng was petrified. That's right, this time Caesar Curran's crow's mouth really said that. Doflamingo really rushed over here. But the strange thing is that there seems to be another person in front of Doflamingo. At this time, Longcheng walked up the stairway at a high place. He was at a high place and recognized who that person was. Moonlight at a glance. Mariah, what's wrong with the 2 of them? It looks like they've had a fight. Longcheng recalled the deafening movement just now, and then suddenly realized that Doflamingo was probably fighting against Moonlight Moria. However, considering that this is just his own guess, Longcheng still thinks that it should be taken seriously. People like Doflamingo who have been in the dark underground world all the year round, except those who have absolute qualifications to give orders to him and the world government, maybe in Doflamingo's eyes, they are not at all. There is, keeping the promise. This awareness. After seeing this, Longcheng's face was extremely tense. Look, someone is rushing towards us. Immediately, this scene was also seen by other people on the boat. When more and more people noticed that the people who came were Doflamingo and Yugong Moria, who came under the king's chiwahai, the happy smile on everyone's face gradually became panic. You must know that among them, many people have witnessed too many scenes of flamenco's brutal and ruthless murder, and the body of a living person, like chopping melons and vegetables, is divided into several sections, even more than a dozen segments. Since Longcheng's physical strength has not fully recovered, everyone dares not leave the island without authorization, but if they continue to move forward, will they be ahead? When there are other strong people facing this dilemma, Longcheng fell into deep thought, but at this time, Monet stepped out of the boat door with the help of Duke Inuarashi, and said to Longcheng, Master, when I came back, I didn't see anyone. The reason why Doflamingo appears here is only on the order of above, to kill Moonlight Moria here. After listening to Monet's words, everyone agreed. It was quite reasonable. But there are also some people who are looking at her with a questioning look. Nai never made it clear why she secretly escaped from the pirates while everyone was not paying attention. Faced with such a suspicious person, her words are very difficult. Completely believe it. Caesar Current was very upset. When he witnessed the appearance of Doflamingo with his own eyes, he became more certain of his guesses. He didn't expect that at such a time, Monet would dare to run out in such a way. The fearless tone persuaded her to speak, and in the past, Caesar Current had already dismembered her. Master, you have to think carefully. This woman, she is a spy sent by Doflamingo to monitor our actions. And, this secret was revealed by the big mouth of Caesar Current. As soon as these words came out, everyone on the deck immediately showed a look of astonishment, and their eyes looked straight in the direction of Monet. No, it's not true. This is impossible. How can my goddess be an undercover agent? Could it be that she took care of us so well before, she just wanted to gain our trust? To be honest, if it wasn't for Caesar Curran still having a certain amount of value, the other party's previous. The inhuman experiment on the living body was enough for Longcheng to kill him more than a dozen times. Of sin, Caesar Current, a mad scientist, is no worse than Doflamingo. Go. Just when everyone was wondering whether to believe Monet or not, Longcheng exhaled a sentence very decisively. Suddenly, Monet couldn't help trembling all over. Facing the trust of Longcheng, she didn't know what choice she should make. At the juncture of crisis, Longcheng didn't think much about it. If at this time, He did not have any voice. The ship is likely to be turbulent. Of course, the reason why he made such a decision is not entirely because of Monet's relationship, but mainly because his current injury has not yet recovered. Is there a way? Cat Viper and Duke Inuarashi are obedient to Longcheng, no matter what. What kind of impact will Longcheng's order have on them, and they are willing to follow it forever. Caesar, why didn't you go to the helm? What are you doing? Cat Viper called out loudly. After hearing the words, Caesar Curon was still impressed by Longcheng's righteousness of self-sacrifice, but at this moment, he was still full of ridicule at Longcheng's stupid decision. If Longcheng's arrogance is restored, he will definitely be provoked by Caesar Curon's angry words. But for now, no matter what, everyone should stay away from the edge for a while, and should not have any head-on conflict with Doflamingo. Retreat is the best choice. 319. Mariah's call for help. However, no one expected that, just as the pirate ship continued to move forward, in less than a while, Moonlight Moria chased after him at the fastest speed in his life. Seeing this scene, a white and fat pirate at the stern of the boat immediately showed panic and called to Longcheng, "His Royal Highness, it's not good, that guy from Moonlight Moria is catching up." What? Instant, many people heard it and looked behind the boat. Indeed, Moonlight Moria swallowed several shadows while running, making his size even bigger, and his running speed was much faster than before. What does this guy want to do? Longcheng said to himself. At this moment, Moonlight Moria also noticed Longcheng, who was standing near the top of the boat. A bitter expression appeared on his face, and then, in front of everyone, with tears in his eyes, he shouted loudly. Calling for help, "Longcheng master, come and save me." Nani? Everyone on the boat felt extremely incredible. You must know that it was one of the 7 Marshalseas under the dignified king, Moonlight Moria. How inexplicably shouted for help to Longcheng. However, at this time, Longcheng also began to gradually believe Monet's words, and this time the belief was naturally from the heart. As Moonlight Moria's speed is getting faster and faster, it also makes the crew work harder and makes the ship move much faster. He and Moonlight Moria distanced themselves again. "Master of Dragon City, Brother Doflamingo is coming to kill me. If you don't save me, I will really die at his hands." When he said this, Moonlight Moria even cried out in tears in front of everyone. Longcheng couldn't believe it when he was killed. He was fortunate enough to witness Moonlight Moria crying bitterly. That's a bounty as high as 320,000 Bailey, owning the horrific 3-masted sailboat, known as the world's largest pirate ship. The person who never imagined that today, in front of Longcheng, would cry like that kind of virtue. If this were changed to before the time travel, the dragon would not believe it if he was killed. Doflamingo, who was chasing fast behind him, fixed his eyes. The city is really here, but why is Moonlight Moria like a grudge, constantly begging for mercy from Longcheng? 4. The relationship between Longcheng and Moonlight Moria, Doflamingo was naturally unaware. After all, very few people know about the battle between Longcheng and Moria. At this time, Longcheng took out something from his body, which was Moonlight Moria's life card. When Longcheng separated from the opponent, he specially took a life card from the opponent. You must know that the uniqueness of the life card is that as long as the original owner does not die, no matter whether it is water or fire, it cannot be damaged in the slightest. If the owner's life is in danger, or his life is at stake, the life card will continue to shrink until it disappears. When the original owner recovers health, the life card will resume like this. At this time, Longcheng saw that the life card has become quite small, which also confirmed that the Moonlight Moria was dying at this moment, and it may even be in danger. Cough. Originally, Longcheng still had reservations about his secret weapon, just because the success rate of this move completely depended on his luck. When he decided to temporarily hide on this island, Longcheng wanted to use this method to deal with Akainu. Fortunately, Akainu, a smart guy, led the navy of the headquarters to leave. 4. Longcheng and his party, this can be regarded as a lucky escape. Moonlight Moria, you are just shame of the Navy, to actually cry in front of that guy in Longcheng. You were once one of the 7 Marshalseas under the king. Doflamingo felt very angry at the moment. But he is more afraid of Longcheng. Recalling what Monet said to him before, it seems that Longcheng was seriously injured, and now is a great opportunity to kill him. Since Longcheng was injured, why did he dare to stand in such a conspicuous place on the top of the boat? Isn't it obvious that he wants to become a living target of his own attack? The woman Monet has changed after all. It's true. Doflamingo's heart was very tangled at this time. Suspicion was his flaw, though, but Doflamingo was never indecisive. Master, if you don't come to save me, I'll be. Moonlight Moria used the last bit of strength and shouted to Longcheng. At this time, above Moria's head, a grinning shadow suddenly passed by, a funny smiling face like a clown, reflected in the eyes of Longcheng and everyone through the light of the day. That shadow is Doflamingo. As soon as Moonlight Moria looked up, she realized that her life was about to end. Ha ha ha, Mariah, all this is caused by your own incompetence, you can't blame others. ... Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 320. The Hidden Trick. Baboon Baboon. Everyone saw that Doflamingo was about to kick Moonlight Mariah's forehead, and there was a very fine line hanging from the opponent's heel. Perhaps Duke Inuarashi, Cat Viper and others who were not far away did not notice it, but Moonlight Moria could see it clearly. It was a thin metal thread with reflections under the sunlight. If he was being kicked in the forehead by Doflamingo with this move, he would definitely be cut in half on the spot. Longcheng Master, save me. I would like to serve you as a cow and a horse all my life. The heartfelt voice that Moonlight Moria shouted out subconsciously in order to ask for help. In the face of such a life and death, Longcheng was already ready to take action. At this time, Doflamingo, who was hanging in the air, raised his head slightly, and saw that Longcheng was heading towards him at a very fast speed. He rushed over. What's going on with these 2 people? Has Moonlight Moria already surrendered to Dragon City? As soon as Doflamingo's idea came up, Longcheng came behind him in an instant with the assistance of Xiao. 100,000 watt positive fist super cannon. At this moment, Longcheng's eyes widened, and he roared, his fists slightly raised, ready to attack at any time. This scene, in Doflamingo's view, is obviously not joking with him. It can be seen that Monet still deceived himself. That hateful woman, the next time I meet her, I must kill her and hurry up. Between the lights and flints, for Doflamingo, who is familiar with the explosive power of Dragon City, the only thing he can do at this moment is to defend with all his strength. Because Doflamingo knew very well, even so, in the face of Dragon City's unimaginable 6th naval power, he still couldn't resist, not to mention, he had already fought a battle with Moonlight Moria, and his physical strength it also consumed 70-88. Desperation, Doflamingo had to block his arms in front of him, and at the same time concentrated all his strength on his back, making cobweb threads harder than steel quickly surface on his back. Seeing that Longcheng was about to throw a punch that was powerful enough to split 100,000 tiles, and this time, it was both punches. But just at this time, Doflamingo showed his domineering armament again, and let the black metal attach to his back, and the spider web, and wanted to use this to improve his defense. However, Longcheng was unexpected. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Brother Doflamingo saw this picture, and he would subconsciously predict the real target of Longcheng's attack. Regrettably, Doflamingo was facing Longcheng with his back at this moment, so he couldn't notice it at all. Shave. Immediately, at that moment, Longcheng displayed his fastest shaving. The blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Doflamingo. At the same time, Longcheng also changed into the form of a 9-tailed fox. Because the situation happened so suddenly, Doflamingo didn't react at all, and his attention was still completely behind him. At this moment, Longcheng's face was hideous, like a crazy man who was extremely angry. Drink. Instant, in the form of a nine-tailed fox, Longcheng frantically roared at Brother Doflamingo's face, and succeeded in making one out of every million people, only one with the aptitude of an emperor. The domineering arrogance that can only be unleashed by human beings. Before coming to look for the Junjun fruit, Longcheng practiced this trick almost every day in his spare time, that is, using the charm of the nine-tailed fox, coupled with the domineering look of the overlord. With a certain probability, the enemy will fall into hallucination. If this trick is successful, it can be said that Longcheng is the first person in the history of pirates. Not far away, because of the pirates who also heard the roar of Longcheng, anyone who is weaker than Longcheng will feel the world spinning, and even fall directly to the ground. Even the Duke of Anuarashi, Cat Viper and Caesar Current couldn't help supporting the fence and felt a little dizzy. Is this? In legend, only the aptitude of an emperor can unleash the tyrannical arrogance of an overlord. Monet couldn't help being shocked. At this time, her feet also softened, and she clutched at the fence in a daze. In the battle between Longcheng and Doflamingo, she was not present, she only knew that in the end, Longcheng won and Doflamingo lost, and it was a disastrous defeat. At the beginning, wasn't she just because she saw the domineering arrogance of Doflamingo, so she decided that Doflamingo is the pirate king who is the most qualified to become a superior person. But now, Longcheng can also be a king. Domineering, this also made Monet secretly make up his mind. Longcheng was worried that the effect of his tyrannical arrogance was not strong enough, and it had little effect on Doflamingo, so he did not stop with a single blow, but continued to release the power of charm and tyrannical arrogance. Long for him to stop until Longcheng was about to use up all his mental power. Since his body and mind had reached a certain limit, even his basic thinking ability was becoming more and more blurred. His body softened, and he fell directly to the ground.